Alright, this is my third time making this video, so we'll see if I can make it through without forgetting any of the steps. So, on Inventor, we're going to open up a new part file, which is right up here. And what we're going to make today is the train body for the train project. So this is step one of the train project. So you're going to choose standard IPT, which stands for Inventor Part. So it should open right up. And then click on this sketch right up here, the 2D sketch. And you're going to get these. Let's go ahead and hit the plus next to origin. And that's going to show you the YZ axis, the XZ, the YZ plane, the XZ plane, and the XY plane. We're going to go ahead and just choose the XY plane for what we're doing right now. I'm going to start you off with a rectangle. So choose 2-point rectangle. And we're going to click once and then drag down and click again. And then we're going to go to dimension. And let's go ahead and make this thing 2 inches wide. And we're going to have to zoom back in. And let's make it 2.5 inches tall. Just like that. Now we're going to go to arc. And there's a couple different types of arc, but we're going to choose 3-point arc. And the way that works is you click a vertice, and then you click another vertice, and then you can pull your arc to make it whatever radius you want it to be. If you locked it right here, that'd be a perfect half circle, which we don't want. We want a flatter circle than that. So I'm going to put it right there and dimension, and let's go ahead and make this 2.24. So it's looking just like that. And now we're going to go up to 3D model, and we're going to extrude this so that it has a third dimension. Okay, so for profile, we're going to select this, and we can either extrude it forward or we can extrude it back. Either one will work. And I'm going to put a total distance of 5.5 inches. So it's going to look something like that. Okay. Next step, we're going to take a sketch and put it right on the front of this guy. And now you want to be careful. You got a couple little points on here. You don't want to lock to those because it would constrain your sketch, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go to rectangle here. I'm going to click up here and something like that. I want to make sure the top is well above my train and the sides are well to the outside, but this one is inside. Then I'm going to go to dimension, and the only dimension I need for this is to make sure that this line is 0.87 inches above the bottom of the train. And then here's what that looks like. Now I'm going to go to 3D model, and we're going to go to extrude, but this time instead of doing join, which adds material, we're going to do cut, which removes material. So I select this. The profile we're using is this rectangle. Now it defaulted to the same distance we just used, which I don't actually want. I only want it to go back 3.75 inches, and we'll say OK, and it should look like that. Next step, a new sketch on the front face, and we're going to use circle. And again, don't lock it to anything in particular, just throw a circle on there. And let's now go dimension it and make sure that the circle has a diameter of 1.5 inches, and it has a distance from the side of 1 inch, because the total width was 2. So if the distance from the side is 1 inch, then it's centered. And then a distance above this line right here of 0.5 inch. All right, and again, if we look at that in isometric view, it looks like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to 3D model again and extrude, and we're going to select that circle. But instead of a distance, we're going to say we want it to go to this face. Okay. Now it's in the cut mode right now, so it's actually it would remove material if we left it like this, and instead of adding material. And we want to add material, so we're going to pick join to add the material and say OK. So we now have that. Now I want to look at this face of the train, so I'm going to come up here to this cube, and I'm going to click right on the right face. So I'm looking right at it, and I'm going to put a sketch on it. And we're going to put 2 things on here. First, we're going to take a rectangle, and we're going to drop it just like that. And then we're going to go to arc, and I want you to click on that corner. I want you to click on the bottom corner, and I want you to pull it out until you see the tangent signs right there. That tells you that that arc is perfectly tangent into that rectangle and is a perfect half circle. Now we'll go to dimension, and I want to make sure that from here to here, the distance between those 2 edges is 1/4 inch. And I want to make sure that the diameter, or sorry, the radius of this arc is 0.5 inch. And I also want to make sure that the distance from this center point to the bottom is 1.75 inches. Just like that. Now we're going to go back to 3D model and say extrude. And let's select both of these profiles, this and this. And we're going to cut it. And we're going to say, actually let's go to an isometric view here. It's going to look like that. And let's just say cut all. And that's going to go cut whatever material it runs into. And we'll say OK. So now we have that. And let's look right at it again. OK, that's looking good. Now we need some holes on the bottom of this thing. So for the wheels to attach to. So I'm going to say sketch on this face. And I'm going to do point. And we'll put a point over here somewhere and a point over here somewhere. And now we need to put them in the right spots. So let's go to dimension. And I want to make sure it's 1 inch off of the front. And I want to make sure it's a 1/2 inch off of the bottom. And the same thing over here. Let's go 1 inch off of the front. And a 1/2 inch off of the bottom. Just like that. Now we can go to 3D model. And this time we're going to use what's called hole. It's the hole feature. And the hole will automatically select those 2 points I put in. So if I go into an isometric, you're going to see that it has selected those, and it's going to make those holes through. The diameter is set for 1/4 inch by default, and we're going to keep that. And it's also set to go all the way through. There's no distance. It's just going through all, and that's fine also. We'll keep that. And we're not adding any threads to the hole, so nothing else is going to change, so we'll hit OK. All right. The next thing gets a little trickier. We're going to take a plane, and I want to put a plane right on top of this cylinder right here. So that would be just like that. It's going to be, so I've got a plane that's going to be parallel to the XZ plane, so I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to come hover over the top of this cylinder, and right there it's creating a plane that's tangent to the top. So I'm going to click on it, and it just created that plane. You can see if I look at it from the front, it is tangent to the top of that cylinder. And it made it for me by hitting plane and telling it I wanted it to be parallel to the XZ, and then panning over the top of the cylinder, it knew what to do. Next thing I'm going to do is go to plane again, and I'm going to click and hold on one of the corners of this plane, and it's going to allow me to offset an additional plane from that. And I'm going to bring it up 1 inch, which you can type in, or you can just pull it up till you get to 1 inch. And I'm going to say OK. So at this point I now have 2 planes. I have the one that's tangent to the cylinder and the one that's above it. The one that's tangent to the cylinder I don't really need to see anymore, so I'm going to right click on it and uncheck visibility so I don't have to see it. But the higher one, which if you look straight at it you'll see where it is, it's up above. We are going to do something with that. I'm going to go to sketch, and if I click on the outside of it I can put a sketch plane right on it, and I'm going to put a circle right about here. And I'm going to make sure it's exactly how I want it now. So we're going to go and tell it to be exactly 1 inch off the side so that it's centered. And I want it to be from the front to the center point should be 0.87. Okay. And I want it to have a diameter of 1 inch, just like that. And now I want to extrude it down. So I'm going to look at it like this. I'm going to rotate it back down. And actually, let's look at it like that. And I'm going to go to 3D model. I'm going to say extrude that, but I want it to go down. And I only want it to go down 1.2 inches. And when it goes down, I want it to taper so it's getting smaller as it goes down. So I'm going to click on this more button right here. And I'm going to put in a -15 degrees. And what that tells it is as it's going down, it's getting a little bit skinnier. And then we'll hit OK. So now it's made that. Now I don't need to see this plane anymore either, so I'm going to right click on the edge of it and uncheck the visibility. Now we want to make this look even fancier on top also, so I'm just going to put a sketch right on the top surface of it, and what that did is that activated my little circle. So that's all I had to do. Now I just go straight back into model, and I'm going to say extrude, and I'm going to bring that up, but I'm only going to bring it up 1/4 inch. And when it's coming up, I want to taper it also, so I'm going to go to more, and I'm going to give it a taper of -15 degrees also. And I'm going to hit OK. So now I've got a nice little smokestack on my train engine, and it looks good. Okay, now we're going to round this thing off. We're going to round off every edge on here except for these holes, because we're going to need these holes to attach wheels to later, and they're easier to use if they're not rounded off. So let's go to fillet, and I'm going to say loop, and I'm just going to go around this train and select every loop that it'll let me select without choosing those wheel holes. And it doesn't take all that long to get them all. Let's rotate to this side. There's one. And if you miss one, it's not a big deal. This is purely for aesthetics. It doesn't change how the function of the train is going to be. And so then it defaulted to a radius of 1/8 inch on this fillet, which means it's rounding it with an arc of 1/8 of an inch. And that sounds good, so we'll just hit OK. And the final step now is just choosing what color we want it to be. So I'm going to come up here to where it says default. I'm going to click. And you get all kinds of different colors. So maybe we'll say, hey, this is a gold metal train. And there it is, chugga chugga. Make sure you save the train body into a train project folder in your on your network drive, so that as you're making all your other parts, they're all saved in the same place, and we can bring them together when we're ready for the assembly. All right, that's it for this step.